Hello wonderful person, this is Anton and welcome to Proxima Centauri, the nearest star to our own solar system. In today's video we're going to be talking about a new discovery that we may have made in 2017 and the mysteries of this beautiful star. Welcome to What the Math. So what I wanted to do in this video actually is very simple. There has been a new potential discovery made in this star system, and it's related to the objects that orbit here. Now, we've discovered Proxima b only in 2016, and we are pretty certain that this is actually a terrestrial-like planet, about 1.3 masses of Earth, or possibly a little bit more massive, depending on where it's located in the solar system, in the star system. And most importantly, it's actually very close to the so-called habitable zone. So if you actually enable habitable zone, you'll see that it's laying right here where you would expect it to have liquid water. So it's a pretty exciting discovery. In Universe Sandbox, it's also shown to have very high Earth similarity, close to 90%. Now, the discovery is actually not about this planet, because we haven't really found anything new about this planet, but we have decided that we're going to have a mission to the star system in the next 20 years or so. Specifically, it's actually the so-called Breakthrough Starshot project that is going to use about $100 million to try to launch these laser-driven microprobes that will move at about 20% of the speed of light and will hopefully reach this in about 20 years. But all of this will be in the future. For now, let's actually ignore Proxima b because we don't know much else about it, and talk about the actual system, because we have possibly discovered another object here. So first of all, let's actually talk a little bit about Proxima Centauri. So this is a red dwarf. It's a star that's a lot smaller than our own sun, and it's also on top of that a flare star. Here's our sun in comparison. What a flare star does is you'll see it in about a few minutes, a few seconds, it flares up a lot. And every time it flares up, it has a chance of stripping the planet, or any planets for this matter, of their atmosphere and maybe even reducing any kind of water that was left here. So for this reason, we now think that these flare stars don't really have a high chance of having habitable... So for this reason, we don't really think that many planets in these systems will be habitable or will have any life on them, but you never know. And so the interesting thing about Proxima Centauri, as we've studied in the last few months, is that it also has several rings in the solar system, asteroid belts, and possibly even another object orbiting at a distance. But since this star is so dim, and since it actually doesn't produce as much solar activity, but unfortunately, this star is actually really dim, so it's kind of hard for us to see anything here, and it's actually hard for us to study this star because it doesn't produce enough radiation or enough actual light. Now, it produces so little light, as a matter of fact, that Proxima b, even though it's in a habitable zone, only receives about 2% of visible light compared to our own solar system, compared to our own Earth. So if you were to stand on the surface here in midday, you would actually see only about 2% of total light, which is almost nothing. It does produce about 65% of infrared, which is why this planet gets heat, but we wouldn't be able to see it. It will be still very dark. Warm, but dark. On the other hand, once in a while, this star is actually known to flare up and change completely. As a matter of fact, the star is producing so much more light that you would probably fry alive if you were to stand on the surface again. So those flares can increase the light up to about 8 times, and so it can go from like 2% visible light to about 14–16% visible light. And the amount of radiation and heat increases by 8 times as well. So these flares are pretty dangerous. But we're getting off track here. We're talking about other stuff, other objects. So we know that at a distance of about 0.4 4 astronomical units from this beautiful star, there lays a kind of a belt. There actually is a kind of a ring, so you can maybe kind of see it. It's very, very hard to see because the star is pretty bright, but it's right. Let me just zoom in here. It's right there. So this belt is a kind of a warm asteroid belt that we are still haven't 100% confirmed, but it seems to be in this location, and it seems to actually have approximately 1% of mass of Earth. So basically like moon size, or almost moon size. And this belt might actually indicate that there are other planetesimals and other actual planets in the system. Let's actually make it a little bit more visible so that you can see it slightly better. Now this belt hasn't really been confirmed yet, but we are kind of almost certain that it's there. And it's called the warm belt, or warm dust belt, mostly because it's a little bit closer to the star, so it actually might have a lot of heavier materials here, such as silicates and metals. And so whatever is in this area might actually be another planet, or possibly might create a planet in time. On the other hand, we also have discovered another object at a distance of about 1.6 astronomical units, so kind of just past Earth, maybe closer to Mars. An object that's actually a little bit closer to gas giants in our own solar system, and in this case it's about 30% mass of Jupiter. Now this object is actually very similar to gas giants in our own solar system. Its mass is about 31% of mass of Jupiter, or basically about 98.6 Earths. It's a little bit dark here because it's farther away from Proxima Centauri, so it's harder to see. But I named it Proxima C because this would actually possibly be its name if it's confirmed. We're not sure if this object is here, but the little deviations in orbit of Proxima Centauri told us that there might be something right here, and this something might actually be a gas giant. We originally thought it was impossible to have gas giants around these so-called red dwarfs, but recently we've discovered that it is possible after all. And then, at a distance of 1 to 4 astronomical units, we've actually located yet another possible ring. And this time it's called a coal dust ring, because these are possibly ice or ices of all kinds, such as methane, water, and so on. So here, this particular ring is, although unconfirmed right now, might actually indicate that there are other gas giants in the system as well. And the more recent discovery is actually that there is yet another dust ring, but this time at a very, very far away distance. At a distance of about 30 astronomical units, which is where Neptune would be from the Sun, we're going to have to actually zoom out to kind of even see it, is another ring right there. Now, all of these rings are kind of still unofficially unconfirmed, except for the cold dust ring that we think is definitely there. But all of this makes this very, very interesting, because this indicates that Proxima Centauri might actually have a lot of planets, and it also might indicate that there are other elements here that are similar to our own solar system, such as, for example, asteroid belt, Kuiper's belt, and so on, and a lot of other objects in here to discover. In other words, launching that Breakthrough Starshot project mission might be a good idea, and the sooner we do it, the sooner we'll learn what's going on here. Well, so far that's all we know about Proxima Centauri, but this is enough to get us excited, because this star is the closest to us, it's our neighbor, and getting here will probably take us a lot less than any other system. Whether this planet, which is called Proxima b, is terrestrial, time will tell, but most importantly, whether this planet exists, we'll actually be able to discover relatively soon. So currently we think that it might be some kind of an artifact of analysis, but if Proxima c exists, there actually might be other objects around the system that might be really exciting for us to discover. Now, unfortunately, I actually turned the luminosity of the star a little bit too low, so it's kind of hard to see everything, but I'm going to make it a little bit brighter just so you can see everything at the same time, including, of course, those rings and the planet Proxima c that has its surface illuminated now. Whether this is what it looks like, we don't really know, but for now, we're going to assume that this is exactly what it looks like. Anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you in this video, and hopefully you learned something from it, and hopefully now you'll get more excited about Proxima C and Proxima Centauri system in general. Come back tomorrow to learn something else, share this video with someone who enjoys watching space videos, and most importantly, subscribe if you still haven't. I'll see you guys tomorrow, space out, and as always, bye bye.